Did you make that?
Yeah,
Nice.
10
What
minutes
did you
in
use?
iTunes
iTunes, yeah.
or
GarageBand.
GarageBand. Yeah, 10
Love
minutes
it.
of GarageBand. I was like, what? Came out good. I think.
It's a banger, bro.
Well, welcome, Simeon Ke-Paloma.
Nice.
Second try. We had a little tech issue before, but let's see if we can get this one done, man. Persistence,
Oh yeah.
just like downwinding, takes
Oh
persistence.
yeah. You got. Keep trying. Keep trying.
So, let's start off with your socials, just so if in case someone hasn't heard of you, so they can follow along, check you out, and while they listen or watch the episodes. Instagram is at simboogie, SIMBOOGY, as well as at Voyager Foiler. That's Voyager_Foiler on Instagram as well. And do you guys have YouTube? Yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
I've
I've been
seen the
trying
YouTube.
to put up some YouTube videos and whatnot. Whether it's highlight clips or just instructional or just sharing some wisdom and trying to get it to grow. It's not like a full time vlog style action like a lot of people get, but just putting it out there into the universe. Hey, how's the background? Can you hear that construction or no?
Yeah, sounds like someone's pounding steel, but whatever. We'll chat through them.
Let me right through it, bro. Let me try move and find a quieter spot. Stand by.
Right.
We're making adjustments. Always making adjustments over here, bro. How's that? Better, cleaner?
Yeah, I think she go.
I'm like in this gnarly bat cage.
Just in the sweat chamber, huh?
Sweat chamber.
Anyway, so I did a little bit of a dive through your Instagrams, and I knew this about you already. You're traditional Hawaiian paddler. You've done a lot of downwind runs actually before even foiling. A lot of experience, weather conditions, ocean, wind and swell and tide and direction, all that kind of stuff. You had to have experience with to get out there in the canoes. And so I looked back and I was seeing that in 2018, you had a post and the caption was Team Holo Holo. That means like travel, leisure cruise, something like that, right? If I remember correct. Adventure, yeah. And so it said Team Holo Holo. Shout when I put a foil on this thing. So good.
2018, huh?
So this was December 2018. And the next post I could find of foiling, or the first post you had of foiling was December 2019. So a year later, the first clip, you're on a Go foil, a blue wing. I forget is that the Maliko? The blue one? It's not. Yeah, I think that's Maliko, and Evo was the red. I can't remember. But you're proning the Maliko, and you had him down already. You were cooking in the background. You didn't show anybody yet. You were pumping out. It looks like a Kaiko's run. You're pumping out, gliding, looking good already, and understanding the bump.
Yeah, it was. That was a when I always think back and reflect on those times, it was super exciting because I knew that the potential and the possibilities were there. I just needed to wait for my foil skills to um, build and get better and come up to par. And that's where when I started foiling with Jack and Scotty and Adam and Kagi and all those guys from the early days, they already could foil. They were like the best foilers on the island, and the bar was low. Not to say that they weren't good or qualified, but the bar was so low, and the gear was so low tech back in the day that if you could basically catch a wave, ride, and then if you could pump back out to another wave to make a reconnection, you were like world class.
Yeah.
And so and foiling was hard. There's a lot to learn there, but it's valuable to learn it in the surf on the prone like that way. That way you can build up your skills and your mechanics. And like I said, it was taking me a little bit to learn, but knew that the potential was there for downwinding, because when I started foiling and you're just riding these unbroken waves or just swells or lumps in the ocean, and I was just having flashbacks of my canoe paddling years where I've been out there in the ocean and it's like violent whitewater breaking waves in the middle of the ocean that a lot of these people haven't seen or experienced, like the surfers, lifelong surfers like Jack and Scotty, or yourself, or anybody who's coming into this sport as a surfer. They've never really paid attention to wind, ocean swells, and what's possible um, in out in the open ocean, and it's a new way to ride. And even for me, I've been paying attention to wind and ocean swells for ever since I've been canoe paddling. So probably the last 15 to 20 years. I was began my super competitive canoe paddling journey in high school, racing those one man canoes across um, the Kaiwi Channel, Molokai. Um, but like I said, I've been paying attention to the wind and the ocean swells for all these years. But what's exciting about foiling is we're still finding these new zones and these new areas. Like I just came back from Brazil and I was just like, "Ah, everybody's got to come. Everybody's got to
Yeah,
go to Brazil.
I saw you hang with
You know,
Mizo, another legend, super early foil adopter, and Bretta still
legend.
rips so hard.
Oh my gosh, he's like, you look at people and you can kind of see their styles right away. Like guys are either very smooth and clean, or they can execute all the tricks and maneuvers, and then you got guys like I'll put like a few people into this category. And this is, I'm not trying to leave anybody out. It's just the people that come to the top of my mind in this style, um, where they just surf with so much speed and aggression, like foil surf with so much speed and aggression. You're like, whoa, that was gnarly and critical, like pretty dangerous, but they pulled it, and it's like it's gnarly, and like Mizo's like that, and Edo's like that. A lot of people don't realize that Edo just absolutely shreds and rips. But he doesn't post things, he doesn't, but if you see clips of him foil surfing, he's wild. He's going like vertical and just turning the foil in critical parts of the waves with speed. A lot of times we're trying to like wind speed off and do like little check turns in order to get real radical. And guys like Mizo and Edo, they're just going 100 miles an hour into turns, and they're wild.
Still
Yeah,
remember a
Mizo's a
clip,
legend.
total legend. Both those guys, man.
Both
I
guys.
still remember a clip. I think it's when Edo just got on Axis, and it was, I believe, it was right off Diamond Head. That on the other side of the boulder. I'm not positive, but he was just like, yeah, hitting the bottom, coming up and cranking and doing like the tips out, but wrapping all the way back into like 3, 4 of those. And you could tell he's just flying. He was booking and just full commitment. I was like, what the? Because I had early contact with him on the gram, and he seemed kind of like in and out of foiling a little bit before he really like locked in hard. And he just went from like quote unquote nobody, like someone you hadn't heard of or didn't have a lot of skills, and like it seemed like overnight, all of a sudden he's just an absolute force.
He's wild. I remember when he first came out to Hawaii, and same thing. Like, yeah, just foiling was so small that like if you would put out content on Instagram, you're like, oh, sick, like cool, like oh, he's here on Oahu. Let's go check him out. And I remember one of his first posts, and he was like surfing and foiling a wave, and the caption was something like, "This is my first time riding a wave," because where he came from in Hong Kong, they might have just been dock starting or wake foiling behind a boat and stuff. So, but he was ripping, and then all of a sudden, like he went into and signed up for the Molokai without knowing how to sup, got third that year, and then came back and won the next 2 years. And it's just, you can see, it's wild. His trajectory into foiling is crazy, legendary, really.
So to rewind a little bit, Sim, that clip where you're on, like, it looked kind of like a lifeguard rescue longboard, and you
Oh,
had
yeah,
your belly riding with the with a sail attached to it, and with
yeah,
the caption, "Watch out when I put a foil in this." How long had
yeah.
can you remember how long you had been foiling at that time? That was December 2019,
That was
or that was,
probably
excuse
right
me, that was
when,
December 2018. Did you envision downwinding before you had learned to foil?
you know what? I'll say this, and from my memory, I think I was still like pretty competitive and involved with canoe paddling. And I think the first clip I seen of somebody downwinding, I mean, we all saw that Kai Lenny clip, which was cool, right? And foreign where he's like caught a wave and then pumped back out. And you're like, whoa! And it was like the first 2 for 1 that was, I think, ever executed or ever recorded. To a lot of us, that broke our brains and it broke the internet. And I was like, I had no interest really at that time in foiling. And then I was still, like I said, I was still heavily involved with canoe paddling and racing, and that was my passion. And then the next clip I saw was, I think it was Matahi Drole, and I think he was on the North Shore. It looked like Hawaii waters, or it could have been Tahiti. I'm not entirely sure, but he was on a GoFoil and he was like sitting down, like the Tahitians, I like to sit down, and he was downwinding. And for a lot of people, like it's so foreign because like one, what is foiling, and two, like what is he riding? There's no wave, But as a canoe paddler, I knew exactly what he was doing. He was riding the bumps and riding the swell. Um, but I was like still kind of like, I wouldn't say a hater, but I was still skeptical or didn't really like, I hadn't gotten into foiling yet. And so when going back to that old rescue board that we Frankenstein to a sailing little sailboard or whatever, I'm like, nah, yeah, just wait till I put a foil on this thing. But I actually wasn't even foiling yet. So it was 2018. You're just watching all the viral stuff going around on the internet. And then it was probably late 2019, like the end of the year 2019 in December, when I started getting into foiling. And 2020 is when it really kind of exploded on Oahu, and when we started doing the whole downwinding, having that journey, and it was fun, man. It was amazing. But yeah, man, great times. There's a lot of cool memories there.
Who was the first one or guys crew to send it off Kaiko's, do the first prone run? Who had the idea? Who just sent it?
Just sent it. Okay, I gotta back it up because there's a lot of build up over there. Um, so yeah, like I said, we were all foiling. Like I said, guys like, yeah, Jack, Scotty, Adam, Kahi, Pasha, best foilers on the island at the time, just because they could pump back out and reconnect waves. And you know, it was super cool. Like if you caught a wave to the beach too, like you're like, wow, that was the longest wave I ever had in my life. Catch a wave from Kaimana Beach at the windsock, and then you pump all the way in. Or I remember one of my sessions being at Canoes in Waikiki, which is 150 yards offshore, and if you catch a wave to the beach, you were a madman. Like I remember coming in a few times, and a couple of my coworkers like, "Bro, that was crazy." It's just so funny because that's so small beans and that's nothing now. But just riding waves to the beach, and then it would kind of be like we would start to like be like, bro, what if we connected a wave from surf spot to surf spot? And it wasn't so much downwinding, but it would be like, okay, well, we know we can't really pump upwind, but we'll start upwind of somewhere and go to the next surf spot down and use the wind at our back to help us. But it wasn't really like, open ocean Kaiko set yet. Um, and so we would go from rice bowls to old man's, or like suicides to tongs. And if you don't know the local area, it's basically 100 yard, surf spot hop, and that's what it was. It was surf spot hop. It wasn't really downwinding, but we thought it was all downwinding and it was crazy at the time. Um, and then I think there were a couple series of like we got some really crazy winds, and we would try from Diamond Head Lighthouse. Um, but we were all so bad at the time, and the wings were so junk and like just those giant Malicos. It would be like, 30 plus mile an hour winds, nuking. And, like when you have nuking wind, you have like nuking wind swell. And so it was super rough and messy. So it's like, as much as I wanted to ride the ocean, I couldn't. I couldn't even catch a wave because it was just too gnarly, and you know, like none of the technology was there, right? Like we had just bogus boards and junk wings, and and here we're trying in the most extreme conditions.
The wing
Uh,
profiles are like this thick.
Bro,
They're
so
so
thick.
bulbous, man.
Yeah, I think my prone board too was like a 410, and it felt small, and it was just boxes all the way back, and like I said, it was the stone age for technology and learning for foil sports. But yeah, all started getting better. I think there was one session where Jack made it from Lighthouse to Sui's, which was mind bending, and because I was, I don't know, maybe half a mile, three quarters of a mile, and like I said, at that time we were like ecstatic to make it to the beach, catching a wave from Waikiki, and we had made it to the sand. So, but yeah, the first Kaiko Sen, Jack, Scotty, and Adam, and it just had released their high aspect. The Lift 170 came out, and that's when that was like alien technology, like just to feel that glide. And like I just remember looking at that wing and the span of it, and it looked so high aspect at the time. Like, there's no way we can ride this thing. The 170, actually, I didn't even want to ride the 170. I was riding the 200 HH, you know. Um, the 170 was the small wing, and but anyway, yeah, like that was game changer. We all tried it a few times in the surf, and we're just like, bro, this thing pumps like an animal. For sure, we could send a run up from Picos, and yeah, those guys went. It was fresh gear, high aspect gear, the only high aspect gear on the market at the time, other than Signature. Signature had their Albatross,
And
like
Uni.
210, yeah, and
Yeah.
Uni, yeah,
Yeah, that's when they were the
and
same brand in a way. They were like signature
oh,
licensed
that's right.
unifoil
I
wings,
forgot
and
about
they're
I
almost the
forgot
same
about that
thing.
relationship.
We had
Um,
pretty much this similar progression on Kauai. Was we're chipping in off a random boulder and basically like pumping with the wind at our back to get to the next one, and maybe fall in between and frick paddle down to the next
yeah,
ship, little reef, and go, and like, are we downwinding? I think we're downwinding. And then remember doing a bunch of sends, just like not quite understanding that the equipment. I thought it was like just me. Granted, I needed more skills. It would have made it a lot better too at the time, but I remember just chipping out from a spot that's 10-minute paddle out to begin with, and just going, I'm just going and pumping and riding till you just gas out, and then paddle in 30-40 minutes and try again, and couldn't, like, just confused on why I couldn't crack the code. Yeah, and then seeing the Maui guys, I'm like, I know it's windier, but it's pretty windy today. It looks like we have bumps. And then the what really helped me understand is one day it went super hard west, and same thing. It's like pretty beat up and looks kind of crazy. Like, can we even ride out there and paddle out to our spot? And everything was in reverse. So it's so rare we get like a good west wind in Kauai.
I
And
know the west winds, and I remember talking to Dane guys and those early and Kyle Maliga guys, and I feel like Kauai, because it's like a circle island, the winds are always fickle, but for some reason, like the west winds or the Kona winds, and it just turns into world class downwind zones.
yeah, action. It's not like you don't get the big bumps, but you get the tight wind swell that just makes it so easy. Like, peel off any direction, you've got something there right for you. But that day it was Kyle and I paddle out to our spot. It was going against the grain, and right off the bat, chip in and just sending and flying. And like, what? Pop over, another one pop over, like, we're downwinding, like couldn't believe it. And it just like flipped the switch. And we were on the old like Nash thrust surf mediums, junk wing for downwinding, but it was just the conditions just hit just right. And then not long after, I got a hold of an albatross or it was a signature. I think it was a smaller one. I got first. Either way, no, it was an albatross 190, I think it was. And all of a sudden, like I could downwind, and it was like it was almost upsetting. It's like, man, I was like trying to send it in between from that west wind day on the Nash, and then trying to downwind, when we had the trades back, and then not working again, and then swapping to a high, one of those first high aspects, and then sending it and being able to like, go a mile, 2 miles, and until, like you're saying, Kauai is so round. The more you go, the more offshore it gets, and the more you start getting blown out. So if you like wanted to keep going, you had to just eat it and just either try and fight your way to shore that you could only go so far, or just end up real far offshore just because you wanted extra mileage, extra time on foil. So we always had to pay for it in one way or another. But I was the only one with a high aspect wing on, at least on the south and west side, for quite a while. So it got pretty lonely too. And those, it's just, after you paddle in 40 minutes an hour, like a bunch of times, you start to lose the flavor for it. You feel like kind of pushing your luck a bit, and it gets a little bit lonely out there after a while. But it wasn't too long after Kyle and a lot of the boys, they got the lift, the 170 and 200, and then it was on. We weren't like crushing it, but we could do it all of a sudden. Yeah, start linking it all up. But it's funny parallels.
I always look back to, like as we've progressed through time and just seeing what people's learning processes have been. I mean, downwinding or foiling is accessible to everybody. I'm a believer in that. It doesn't matter how skilled, how experienced you are. It doesn't matter if you're a pro surfer or not. It doesn't matter if you're a lifelong surfer or not. It helps, but not really, because we've seen a lot of our pro surfer friends get into foiling and they're just eating crap.
They got to ride the struggle bus. Yeah.
Everybody starts at zero. It doesn't matter what. And it, for sure, like, and foiling is as long as you're determined and as long as you put in the time and you're committed to the process, you'll be just fine. But for our generation cut from that cloth, where we were learning how to foil on surf wings before high aspect wings came out, I feel like the sensibilities and the mechanics and the fundamentals of how to ride such a junk and terrible wing, and how to pump and reconnect waves. It's built such a good foundation for us, so that like now when we go on high aspect wings, it's duck soup. It's really easy, and it's funny. Like 1 year into my foiling journey, we used to, like, I wouldn't say talk down, but it'd be like, oh, these guys have it so easy. They're learning on high aspect wings, like, bro, we were learning old school on the hard wings. And then you look at it even now, or like say like a year later, we're learning on those 6.0, 20 inches wide, 78-liter sups that we wanted to be smaller because we thought it was too big, and then knowing what we know now, it's like, bro, these guys got it so easy. They're like learning on, these, like 8 foot plus Frank boards, and
Right.
with that just takes off like a rocket,
And
but
all the like the tuning advice and paddling advice all out
yeah,
there. And yeah,
it's great, right? I mean, we've learned so much through that process, and it gives us a better, stronger understanding of gear and what happens, and how to adapt. But the sport is still so accessible to everybody, I think, and that, to me, that's the exciting part. And it's cool because like even when I got into foiling, like you were like best foiler in Hawaii, the high level at the time, and you still rip, and
Just had a little head
it
start and didn't take long to get passed up. But yeah,
it's it was fun times, but yeah, it was like I said, I think it's cool because it really learning the hard way or spending a lot of time doing hard things made us, hardcore foilers with a deep skill set and deep understanding because we did it the hard way.
yeah, I agree, man. There's like from just playing with gear so much to try to figure out a decent feel, chopping tails, chopping front wings, every shim galore, you name it. Just, it was so like just cut and
I
try.
actually remember your name actually was coming up. We didn't, all those things, we never thought that it was possible, or it was just, foiling was too high tech for us to understand. Like, well, if we chop it, it'll be better. Like our understanding was so like I said, Stone Age, and we were like cavemen. Like, just, you want to foil good, slam foil all the way forward, and like that's it. Like masked all the way forward every time, and we would like judge people like, bro, guy doesn't have his mask all the way forward. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then like now our experience, or what we're like we're moving the mass back, because we want to rip more because our pumping is good. We don't need all the lift. But
It's
I
funny how
remember
so many things have come full
but
circle.
full circle,
And that
full
start
circle.
slam back, went slam forward. Now so many, like, you ride them slam back. Same thing with like boards, started real basic, went to all these bottom curves and all this bullshit, and then came back to the basics. It seems
Yeah.
to work
Yeah.
better.
I just paddled out my just because it's not racing season and you're not really trying to like focus on dialing in one setup, and I pulled out my 6 Oklahoma that I learned on, and took it out, and dude, it was gnarly. It was fun. It was still like, I still had a great time on it, but I was just like, bro, I cannot believe that this was beginner board, and for it's not a beginner board at all, but at the time it was like state of the art, like best board available for anybody. And like Jack wrote it, Eric Sturman wrote it, and they were just like, bro, what? This is the best board ever. And like I would never like recommend that board to anybody like right now, like as a beginner board, because it's like, bro, I stood up on it, I sank to my knees, I was literally paddling so hard to like bring the thing out of the water, get the plane, and it was. I cannot believe that without having the skills, I would just send Hawaii Kai runs on that tiny board and try and catch bumps, because I was just like a week ago struggling to catch breaking waves on it, and it's crazy when you look back at all those things and how far we've come, and like I said, man, like it's funny. You look back at the way that we all dialed things, and it's mass all the way forward, shim, or even I remember those signature tail wings, and it was like the Brian Finch model, and you had the dotted line chop shop stencil on it, like chop here if you wanted to surf better,
I think the signatures didn't have that, but it was the arm. There was an Armstrong one, and Army actually texted me. He's like, "Hey, do you mind if we call this Chop Shop and put the lines on it?" And that's when I was kind of
Okay,
doing
good.
like R&D, not like a paid role, but just getting gear and chopping stuff and trying to figure it out. And maybe this, I don't think so, because I just found that tail the other day and I didn't notice it. But
Maybe you chopped it already. That's why. But
yeah,
I distinctly remember it was like the Brian Finch thing, and it had the dotted line on it, like where you would chop it. And I was like, oh, that's sick.
you're probably right, because my memory is so garbage for a lot of this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
that's pretty unreal that you'd pictured the downwind runs before you were even had foiled, being out there on the rescue sup. That's wild, man. Um, you're really such a huge part, the backbone of the voyaging movement. The kind of like the godfather of the movement. What's your vision? Like, explain Voyager foilers, the whole ecosystem.
I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm still struggling to this day of what it is, and or what it could be. But I'll go through it as best as I can. Um, I remember I happened to be on my jet ski on a coastal patrol, and Jack and those guys had texted me like, "Hey, we're gonna send it from Kaiko's," and I saw my phone. I was like, "Oh, sick." Okay, so I went to go watch them, and um, like I said, I think at that time, what we thought was downwinding was we're spot hopping and using the wind to help push us down the coast rather than like carving up and connecting these ocean swells and these
It was the
waves.
first foil assist.
Yeah, exactly. First foil assist. And so I remember, you know, driving up the jet ski, watching those guys jump off the rock, foil down the coast. They all made it. One shot. I think Scotty and Jack one shotted. Adam might have one shotted it too. Um, I'm pretty sure he did, or maybe he did it in two. I'll have to ask him and confirm that. But I busted out my phone just because I knew how this was going to be the next big thing. Um, you know, like I can't explain it. Like how I knew it was going to be special because foiling was already special, and like when we're foiling, and you come in from a session, and you got all these random people asking you like, "What is out there? Like, how do you get started on the thing? Is it hard to learn?" They ask all those like irritating, dorky questions, right? And it's mind blowing for them just to see a surfer ride waves and do it. But seeing this for anybody who's never seen, they were like riding the ocean, and as simple and how deep that can be, like simultaneously, like I just knew that I needed to bust my phone out and like capture like the writing, you know.
I
And
wonder if that's your first clip on Voyager, on the Voyager
I know
one.
exactly which one it is. I know
Scotty,
exactly which one it is, and I can see
August,
it. It's in
August
black and
2020.
white, and it's Scotty. And it was like you know, um, it was the perfect shot in my mind because like it was the high aspect wing, and so he's gliding. He's not really pumping. He's kind of pumping. He's moving with speed, and then Scotty's so stylish. And I got back, and I watched that clip over and over again. I'm like, wow, this is groundbreaking, really. Like I thought it was groundbreaking because I could just see the potential of it, and I knew deep down that like this was going to be an epic sport. And so I started the Instagram, which was Voyager, and I gave it a lot of thought. Like like this is so badass what these guys are doing. Like I took some time to really think like like if I'm gonna start this Instagram and start documenting, all these like prone downwinds, I gotta have a super significant and meaningful title. And I came across Voyager Foiler, and voyaging, and just that word is so powerful and meaningful here in Hawaii because it's it's kind of like our origin. It's our
Yeah, it's how
that's
Hawaii
how
came to
our
be.
ancestors yeah, it's how our ancestors you know came to Hawaii and traveled, and it was like a I don't want to have it sound like use this word because it sounds cultish, but it's like voyaging was like a religion, like it was such a like a crazy skill and craft to these. to these Polynesian voyagers and sailors. They had to train children from when they were 4, and it was like a lifelong thing before they became like master navigators. And so, like for a lot of us who grew up in Hawaii or lived in Hawaii for some time, and we know the voyaging and the navigation history, it's special. And so, start
That
Instagram, Voyager
journey,
Foiler. Yeah.
sorry, I was going to say that
And
that voyage from Polynesia to Hawaii is, it's just hard to wrap your mind around it. The size of the boats they're in, having to bring, coconuts and live pig on the boats to survive it, and not knowing and just going. It's just it's unfathomable
I
how they
mean,
arrived there. Incredible.
grab your phone, open up Google Maps or Earth, zoom out, and then try and scroll and try and find Hawaii again. You can't. It's a needle in the haystack, and you'll pass over it. Like try and look for it. It's that small and minuscule, and these Polynesian navigators and voyagers will go down as history's like greatest navigators, like or maybe the most overlooked. They're like the biggest underdogs, right? Because Christopher Columbus and all those guys, and or even the Viking, Christopher Columbus, they all had instruments and compasses and big boats, and the Vikings, they were gnarly, but they went down coasts. But like the Polynesian voyagers, like pretty much conquered the Pacific Ocean and did it in these gnarly, like Hawaiian outrigger canoe, Polynesian outrigger canoes, and they sailed at night, and they were masters of celestial navigation. And like I said, it was a life's work. It wasn't just like like a 4-year program that you could
Right.
you could study and get your degree in navigating. Like no way, but like I said, it's life's work.
Isn't there
So
more than
I
like
remember,
20 words in Hawaiian to describe clouds? And
yeah, it
Hawaiians would use
pretty
clouds and
expensive,
how
man.
they bend,
It's
and understand that there was like these clouds had movement from something 100 miles away. They could read. It's yeah, it's mind blowing. It's hard to wrap
it
the head around.
it's mind blowing. It's fascinating, and that's the same sort of excitement I had about downwind foiling. And downwind foiling, it's grown so much, but it's still so small, and it has so much more to grow. But I just remember, and then it's actually I should look it up on my phone, but I remember the little like subtitle under the Instagram profile is, what was it? Voyager Foiler, um, blending. It was like blending, like ancient
I got it
practices
right here.
and you got it. Read it out
Downwind
loud, and I
foiling,
just so like
the unexplainable blend of hydrofoil surf technology and ocean wind waves in order to traverse the sea. That's I didn't even notice that, bro. I think I've seen this page a million times and I never. That's a great caption.
but yeah, like I said, like it was so meaningful. I had to really put a lot of good thought. But it's wild when you think about it, right? Because as you have surfing's most innovative technology, and here we are, perpetuating and practicing, ancient, pastimes of navigating and voyaging and enjoying the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what.
The play on oh, sorry, the play on words, offshore investments, it's like one of the best whaling play on words around.
Yeah.
Like I love it so much. It's so brilliant, brother. And I like I'm such a fan of play on words. I had a landscaping business on Kauai for a couple of years and I called it Kauai Mo Betta, MOW. Had like
Yeah.
chainsaw and a little border for the logo. So mean people loved it. But yeah, the offshore investments it's not just a plan where it's just so precise to downwinding,
Yeah.
you have to invest in it. There's no other way to capitalize.
There's no other way. Yeah, and so like that actually originated. I grew up. I love like reggae music. So for a while, like we all get into our like Bob Marley phase where we're just watching all kind of movies, listening to music. And I remember coming across an interview one time, and like just a simple Rasta wisdom, like I think the guy asked, I'm like, oh, how much money do you have? Are you a rich man? He's like, what is money? Like money is just numbers. Like I'm rich in life, and um, for me, it was like, like midlife crisis, not midlife crisis, but just kind of like um, coming to like identity of who you are and what you do and all that sort of stuff. And, it's like, man, like, like I don't have $1 million or, like I'm not living lavishly and I don't live in a mansion, but I'll tell you what, I'm rich in life. In the ocean, happy, healthy, foiling, downwind foiling, and it's epic. And it's like, bro, I'm making my richness is life. And then like, I think in 2020, everybody like got into like investing and stocks, and everyone downloaded
All
Robinhood.
that
And so,
stimmy money was running around.
right, right.
Yeah.
And so everyone thought that they were just like, like Wall Street level traders, and it's funny, like, I mean, I definitely like, I'm would encourage investing and all that. And so it's funny, right? All these memes are going around, and we just like, like kind of parrot or just kind of like, you know, like, uh, like rally around all the funny things. And I don't know, I just had this, yeah, funny, like, dude, like, and for me, I'm always like speaking in analogy and like, so whether it was like, if I've heard any other podcasts or any other talks or I always compare foiling to jujitsu, right? Because it's the same process. Everyone starts at zero. It doesn't matter if they're big, strong, athletic. Like the second you roll with a black belt, you're like, whoa, like I'm a beginner, and it's a process. And so for foiling, it's the same thing, And so like analogies, right? And investing was at the time, I was like, bro, this is perfect. We're making offshore investment, right? Because it's simultaneously we're out there. It's a process. It sucks sometimes. Like you have shocker sessions and you lose money in the market, and but you gotta have patience. You gotta trust, and you gotta just, you know, stocks always go up. And it's just but simultaneously it's like offshore investments.
Gotta buy
It's
the
like
dip, bro.
being happy. Buy the dip. Freaking. It's and a lot like there's been other times too. It's like, man, it doesn't matter like how you time the market. It's time in the market. And it's like offshore
Yeah.
investments, and it's just there's
Yeah.
so much play on words, and it's it's I should definitely start. Like it's funny. Like I've made hats and made shirts, and like I'll use them on my posts, and like people are like they still don't really like catch on to like what it really means and what it means for foiling and downward foiling, but I definitely gotta expand and reflect as a people. It's because it's funny. I mean, it's just like Kawhi Mobile. That's epic, bro. But I
I
think
got a lot of
and that's
I
what,
got a lot of accounts from just wearing that shirt around. I had my
bro.
number all
Like,
big underneath.
bro, make me a sticker. I'll throw that onto my subboard, bro. That'd be classic, man.
I gotta find that logo. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, yeah, that's epic. We'll get a Kyle Maliga from Pad Pan to print up
Yeah,
some stickers and stuff.
another
Um,
genius one. I remember
Another genius one,
laughing
yeah.
our
But
asses off
I mean,
on the
that's
pad
what's
pan
cool,
logo.
right? I mean, generally with foiling it and the community around it, we're always like, I don't know, man, like just super down to earth people. Love to have a good time. It's simple, It's we all have common ground. We still all love to surf, but it was kind of like not being an outcast or just doing something different, learning, exploring, and having fun. And I think going back to like the origin story of Voyager, and that's what kind of made it so special. And for me, it was kind of making sure to protect that vibe or that community feeling where like you know so personable with people and just trying to be like helping people out and foiling in general, right? In those early days, it was such a small crowd that you would be in a lineup and you'd go up to a complete stranger. You'd be like, bro, what are you riding? Like, bro, is your mast all the way forward? Like, slam it forward next time, you know? Like, and we'd just be so invested in helping them. Um, like, like we're the financial investors of offshore investments, you know? Um, but, and so when it came to downwinding, that was like a even more special thing that I think we all just made sure, like I said, to protect that and cultivate that super inviting community positive vibe, you know. And
It's
we have
really
like a yeah, yeah.
it's really one of the
Go ahead.
most beautiful thing about foiling is the community. It's wild. I can't get over it. It's been this way since the beginning. Such a such a giving, supportive, inclusive community. Yeah, I don't know.
There's
It's
there's
wild.
nothing like it. There's nothing like it, bro. And so sure I lost my train of thought there. But oh, what I was gonna say is like even like for us, like, in the early days, after Jack and Scotty and Adam and those guys stomped out their first Keiko's run, we like started this group chat, and it was like it was 4 people, and it was like and then we were just checking in and like, oh, bro, there's wind today, let's go, and then sure enough, we started like adding people to the chat um as it the sport grew and people started learning and growing. And it was funny, like, because whenever we would add somebody to the chat, it was, like we had to like vet and kind of vote and kind of like vouch for people like coming onto the chat because it was such a cool, special, unique group. And especially now, it's like, the group is maxed out at 32 people or whatever, how big your group chat can be. And sometimes, like we gotta like, hey, so like, like it's funny because there would be like, terms like, oh, bro, this guy's under review, we saw him decline, like. And so like we would make jokes that like, and it's still funny how that is because like with the group chat, we've added and you know uh, I don't want to say we kick people off. It's just like, for example, we had Gage showing her on the group chat, just because he was so cool, high level. We all agreed like, bro, this guy's a Voyager, bro. Like he's cool. Um, he has an attitude, and it doesn't matter if he like started with us. He lives here on Oahu now, and it's like the group chat is like mainly a logistical thread where we're planning runs. So we're like, right, yeah, let's go with Gage, But Gage had to move, right? He had to move back because he's in the Coast Guard. Like sadly, I said like, hey, bro, like, there's
Gotta make
guys
room.
chomping at the bit to get in the group chat, and they deserve it, and you don't live here anymore, so blah, blah, blah. But
I got a
it's
question.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
Is there is there a B team chat and an A team chat?
I don't know. I think, yeah, no, there probably is one. I don't know. There's a
Can
Foilers
you be
Anonymous chat. I
can you
think
be
there
on the
was a
B
B team
can you be on the B team and still be in the chat? No.
for sure, bro,
Got it.
for
Oh, okay.
sure. And so, like, in the early
Wait,
days, it was kind of
one more question. Is it harder to get to the A team nowadays than before? Is it have the Are you guys still rating each other? And if so, yeah, is it harder to make A team nowadays now that the level's up and it's not just nail one kikes run?
yeah, 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 for sure. Like it's kind of and it's kind of like the whole concept of the whole like the Voyager black belt hat, right? It's like it doesn't matter or doesn't impress me if you can make a Keiko's run or if you make a Hawaii Kai run, all that. It's just like, especially now, because we're such a tight group of intimate friends, and there's been people's names that have come up before, like, oh, like, should we add them to the Secret Center chat? And we're just like no disrespect, it's just like, bro, we're all brothers here, and It's, you know, like, can we still crack the same jokes? And can we still, like, you know, talk smack to each other, have a great time, and just know that we're all boys and brothers, and there's nothing weird. Like, we don't want to feel weird, you know. It's like a big family thing, you know. And so, yeah. So like the new, I would say, I wouldn't say it's a new credential, but for sure, like, you know, doesn't matter how doesn't matter how well you can foil or downwind foil. A big part of it is also like your vibes. Like, are you a good representative of the Voyager community? Are you, you know, like, are you down to earth? Are you cool? Are you like sharing with people? Or, you know, what I mean, there's all these
Yeah.
things that are in consideration. But yeah, in the early days, you know, I didn't really, even though like it came off that way, I never really like the identification of the A chat or the B chat, because I never wanted to feel like, you know, like one group is better than the other. It's more about getting people into it. You know, like, I wish I was on the B chat, because then I would like be fired up and like stoke those guys out and then keep encouraging them. You know, whereas
Right.
like the A chat, you know, like I'm not gonna inspire or like blow people's minds, because all these guys are world class foilers. You know, like most times we're just talking smack and, you know, like making fun of each other and
It's half the
sharing
fun.
memes and stuff, having fun, bro. And that, at the end of the day, that's that. You know, I still we still love interacting with beginners, because it's fun, because you kind of tap into that like excitement again, like what it was like to learn and feel scared and nervous and all of that, and it helped them through it, right? And help them process all the tough information and navigation of the sport. But good stuff.
So Sim, I just watched a video that you posted minutes before we got on, and you're giving it a talk, and you had mentioned a question I had, and I was going to ask you if you've seen on Oahu parawing like cannibalizing the stand up paddling. And in your video, you had mentioned like, I'm not getting distracted. I'm, you know, laser focused on your craft.
I think, I mean, I can't have, oh, I want to say I can't have an opinion on the subject. Um, I'll just say
It's more
maybe
if
my
you've just
opinion would,
seen people like bypassing the
yeah,
sup, and like, nah, give me the easier route, or if it's easier, I haven't parawing myself.
me neither. I think, and like I said, we have a lot of great friends at Parawing. I made sure to say in the thing, like, bro, you know, like when new things, you know, pop up, we're always making fun of things, but it's like at the end of the day, like, bro, we got such good friends and high level foilers at Parawing, and they have fun. And you know, if that's their opinion or that's their experience, like, I can't talk down to their experience, right? But for me, the way that I see foiling and downwind foiling on Oahu is that pair winging doesn't, like, for me, I would say my devil's advocate argument, and it's not because like I'm not interested in it. It's just, okay, I have fun downwinding. We all started prone. We, you know, I think a lot. Well, let me back it up and have a little bit more organized thought. Pair winging, people are downwinding with a smaller board, which is a new, exciting sensation for people, right? So you look at places like Hood River where it's going off, or even Maui. Um, you know, even Maui itself. You know, like they didn't spend a lot of time on prones. You know, maybe a few people, and it's you talk to those guys, and it's always a mission to like go to guardrails and foil, or, you know, maybe they'll toe foil, but a lot of those guys started on big boards or they were winging, and then that's how they got into downwind. But the Oahu crew, like I said, we started off downwinding on small boards. Um, we, you know, did Pecos runs, and so we were like, you know, that's our base and our foundation. And then we looked at the sup as like, okay, like we're graduating onto bigger runs. and it's reckless for us to send these big gnarly runs way offshore, well, on small boards. The paddle is going to be the best tool, and we're whenever I go and foil, I feel like I'm tapping into the downwinding, and I'm not like I need to go sup, like I need like I'm a supper, Still to this day, like it's funny. Um, I was chatting with Eric Geiselman on Instagram, and we were just making jokes because just about pair winging. And then I told him, I was like, hey man, like, bro, this is so classic. As a lifelong surfer and canoe paddler, I never would have thought it would have be like, stay cool and like stay supping, and it's funny, but yeah, I mean, look at Hood River too, right? Like those guys, like not you don't have an opportunity to ride a small board, or you didn't all those years, right? Because there's no absolute way. Only Kyle Maligro and a couple people were madmen trying to like spend time in the river,
Yeah,
paddling
I've
it,
proned it.
throwing.
I've proned it, and
Yeah,
that's a bitch, man. You need the right day, and sometimes you sit there, you get sucked way up the river
in
before
the
you get
cold
anything.
water,
Yeah,
exactly, right? So the environment was necessary for them to learn on bigger boards or use wings. Where, like I said, when we come back to Oahu, if I want to tickle my urge to go and shred on a downwind run, I'll bust out my prone and I'll go on a kitecoach run and do a quick lap in the skate park. Um, right now, the only interesting thing that I can see about pairwinging is the ability to sail upwind or sail way outside to get into the wind line. But Oahu is a very friendly coastline where you can get easy access to very windy spots and wind lines. Like we don't have to paddle super far out. You jump
yeah, the
off
bumps
channel
are
walls,
great.
you paddle 50 yards, and you can start popping up in bumps. Um, but that's the only thing. And then I'm always talking to people about and people who do both, right? Like I've talked to Mizo when I was in Brazil. I talked to Kiahi. Um, you know, although I have a four-man sailing canoe, but I wouldn't say that I'm a sailor and I like understand all these like lines or I'm not a kiter or I don't wing. I've never winged.
Oh, really?
It's not because and it's not because I didn't choose to. It's just like I didn't I didn't have the opportunity or I didn't like I was just so fascinated with proning and then I didn't have time to. If I had a if I had a an hour to go in the water, I would just much rather go prone than learn how to wing. So I just didn't get into it. Um but like I said, I was talking to these guys, Mizo and Kiahi, and I was picking their brains and saying, hey, like how good can you you know go upwind on these things? And coming from Kiahi, who's like one of the best like kite surfers in the world, he had a pretty like realistic like opinion, and he said it's pretty difficult and technical, but it's doable, but it's not at the level of where it could be just yet. And
What I understand now
and
that
he was
there's a couple pairs. Sorry, keep cutting you off for the delay there.
no, 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 no worry.
My take on it is it's just another tool, and there's conditions where it's a great tool, and then but it's not the end all be all. When I see people like, I'm throwing away my paddle and my support, I'm done. This is so epic, and maybe that works for them where they're located and the spots they want to travel to makes sense. You hear that a lot, like when people started supping, I'm throwing away my wings. I'm never doing that again. But there's days where the wings the call. There's days where sup's the call, where and maybe
Exactly.
pair wings the call. But from what I understand, there's newer pair of wings, these latest versions. They're figuring out how to make them so they're much easier to blast upwind, and there seems to be like a give and take. Like you can have low end yank, easy to pop up, and those are ideal for smaller boards. You have ones that don't have as good as low end, but once you get going, you can crank upwind, and upwind, downwind kind of stuff is interesting. Eric Antonson, interesting. He likes to use the power wing to when we have like side on shore conditions where it's really hard to work your way out on a sup or even prone. You'll go like crank way out, and even like onshore, you can just crank way out and then just ride back. You give yourself way more cushion to work your way down and in the coast. And I thought that was a pretty brilliant, way to use that as a tool as well. But there's a whole commentary on just bringing one when you're on your sup. If you break your paddle, something goes wrong, something like that, like as a safety measure, and bust out the power wing and yank yourself to shore. Interesting.
I wouldn't laugh, but I would just like, I'd always notice when guys would make big claims like, bro, throwing away my paddle, selling myself. And one of our buddies just actually moved up to Hood River, and he said, bro, the used market for subboards is like so cheap up there right now because everyone's like trying to sell their stuff and they can't because there's so much, and it's like everyone's trying to dump all their stuff. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a tool. But yeah, whenever I talk to very mature foilers, and yeah, same narrative. It's a tool. There's days when the sup is better. There's days when pair wing is better. Nothing is better. I mean, and like I said in my video, at the end of the day, bro, we're getting in the water, we're having fun, we're riding the ocean, making offshore investments. Whether you're on a sup, prone, pair wing, or wing, they're all just different tickers and different investments you can make. So
I'm still dying to see a bug foil downwind. I don't know if it's happened, but
guys will do it and then they'll get back up to their feet again, but not like.
I mean, like legit bug on the bug foil, like an actual boogie board, wearing your fins. I wonder, like, it would have to be so cranking to chip in. I think on your belly, but I don't know. It's something that I've been waiting to see someone. It would still be a novelty event, but that's like
maybe you'll use the Mr. Bennett's jet board or something, and just
it's a bit different, but right,
yeah, it's different, yeah.
Anyway, random thought. Tell me a little bit. Are you good on time? A little bit more. Bro. Right on. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the Voyager camps. Kind of brief overview, where you've been and where it's going. And I know you're taking off to France, like tomorrow or something.
France,
real soon.
Friday, yeah. Friday. So yeah, tomorrow. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess to link it back to the whole what is Voyager. Like I said, at first started off as a group chat or Instagram, then a group chat, and then I would start to make hats and shirts for the boys. Yeah, like one of us, like what's that cool like bird logo thing? Like bro, that's us guys who do Keiko's runs, and it's like it was kind of cool. And then like I knew it was special because it had gained a lot of like desire, or just people like there was a demand for it because people would like, hey man, can I get one of those hats? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, here, like, and they would buy it and they'd say, like, hey, don't worry, I won't wear it till I make a Keiko's run. I'm like, bro, like, what do you mean, bro? It's all good. Just rock it, like that's us guys, And it was funny. I knew it was special at that point. It was like a tight community, and and then for a large amount of time after that, it was just this or that. But I'm not a super passionate about merchandise, selling shirts and hats. Like I don't love having boxes of stuff. And if you ever order anything for me, like I'm still handwriting out my packages because I'm not like I don't care about the merchandise hustle. For me, it's mostly just about like celebrating the community and the brand and the reputation of what it is. And so I'll do all that stuff, whatever. But
it tightens the community. It really does tighten up the community. You know, it's this sense of belonging and being, and I love that. Like people is like, bro, I'm not gonna wear them until I can make it. You know, and that really speaks to the culture of like offshore investments wanting to earn it. You know, wanting to
Yeah,
be at that level
yeah,
and
yeah,
hit your achievements.
yeah. I mean, I just got that the other day from another person, like where these couple guys are learning, and one guy was like, "Bro, I'm gonna get some high vis jerseys for us, you know, because we're learning." And one guy's like, nah, like, bro, like I can't do that. Like, bro, I haven't made a run yet. And so, like, whether it's 5 years ago or still yet to this day, people are still kind of, um, you know, excited and fearful of the Voyager bird, you know, and what it means and whatnot. So it's classic. Yeah. So all that went through, and then must have been 2 years ago. Uh, he had came up to me with an idea of putting together a camp. I love the idea because that's kind of what we've been doing the last 3-4 years. We're
Coaching,
basically
yeah.
learning, coaching all of our friends and building, because it's one of the greatest things ever, and you want to get as much people into it, and it's a big party wave, and it's like there's no party waves in surfing really, but like in downwinding, like there's true party waves, and you're stoked and you're piling in and you need each other. And not to backtrack, but I remember I was on the phone with Scotty and we were talking about pairwinging and how he was like, bro, it's like no ways, bro, like this is my community, man. Like I got nobody, bro. Like I'm, like I got nothing going on, and the last thing I want to do is ditch all of that to go parrowing, and like that's part of the fun. Like if everybody turns into pairwingers, everyone's gonna be like, okay, bro, I'm gonna go, and like you go by yourself and you tack up and you come down, and you lose that sense of like piling into cars with each other and having this community feel and vibe and relationship, and that's what it's all about. But so yeah, it took us a while, and I was thinking like, man, these camps are a great idea. We've been doing this for the last few years, and love teaching, love coaching, and bringing up all our friends, and because we want to. It's more fun. It's a true party wave when we have a whole gang going.
You're
And
giving, you're accelerating people into a sport, into skills that brings them so much joy. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's yeah, it's not like a selfish act doing
no,
camps
no,
and having to monetize it, but it's bring. We have two friends here from Florida, Dr. Matt and Gary did your camp in
yeah,
Hawaii,
bro.
and they had great experience for one, and they learned a ton. They learned a ton. Even Eric and I coaching them here, it can be really hard here to downwind here because it's junks all the time. It's not big and obvious, and it's a different beast. It has its own challenges. But they came home and they you could see they had increased skills quickly, and they've built on those skills from that camp, and they're applying it. And now they're crushing it.
What I love about that too, and it's a byproduct of the camp, is especially each camp that we've done, it's they come as strangers and they leave as friends, and like still to this day, like I'm so stoked because like you know um edition one Voyager camp, all those guys still keep in touch, and they go on Hood River trips together. I'm just like, bruh, that's what it's all about, like
So
little
cool.
they have like little reunions, and it's freaking epic, man. And so stoked to hear that and see that, and still track people's progress and improvement, and just when it comes back to it, that's what Voyager is. It's perpetuating that community vibe that maybe like surfing doesn't have anymore, or maybe didn't have the level that foiling has, because it's such a unique
Surfing's
wave.
tough with the crowds, limited resource mindset. This one thing I loved about first started foiling is like, oh, I don't have to play chess anymore when I'm out in the water and calculate, okay, how long this guy's sitting, this guy's catching a grip of waves, trying to backpedal him. I don't even know this guy. Like you could have like catch good waves and still have a bad session in surfing. You know, when it's crowded, you know, and
Get chased out of the water.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's happened before too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But but yeah, so for the camps, man, it's been crazy because even on our end, it's been such a super fun learning curve of trying to break down this difficult sport and come up with um, applicable and like applicable strategies and approaches and techniques and building like a fundamental, you know, like course so that people can get better. And it's been a fun challenge for all of us, and it's a fun it's fun for even me, like seeing the people that we brought up now start to like share their knowledge. And it's cool because you know, like one of the things we do is like, you know, we assign instructors per student, but we like to every day, you know, um,
swap them out.
change up, swap them out. And it's cool, right? And you get like a more well-rounded view. You get all these different viewpoints. Maybe you're learning the same thing, but you're, you know, picking up different nuggets here or there. And it's a fun atmosphere to be in because even for us, you know, like when Scotty gets up there and he's talking about bump theory, and you know, like he's blowing a lot of our instructors' minds, you know. And my buddy KK, he's talking about safety and like just has this insane safety chat about tourniquets and blah blah blah. And you're like, yeah, like, bro, I gotta bring the tourniquet every time, or like, you know, just the way that you prepare. And there's a lot that goes into a successful downwind, right? Um, you know, how you enter and exit the water, and like basic things like that. You know, like a lot of these people, they come from all these places, lakes, you know, places where there's no rocks and reefs. So we got to explain all these things. Or, you know, when we talk about like gear and theory and shimming and all this, it's super interactive, and it's a fun learning environment for all. But even for us as instructors, it's fun. And I think uniquely, you know, because we've had a few students and they've just been so blown away where, you know, this is all our first go at it, you know, like putting on these camps. And one of the things that I realized when I went to Brazil is that like the kiting and windsurfing, it's like such a lucrative industry, because I had no idea like how alive and well kiting and windsurfing is. Because here in Oahu, I haven't seen a windsurfer in 15 years. I never see kiters, you know, out there, you know, we're reef foil. And so, um, you know, I have a newfound respect for that sport, but especially for the industry and how, like, I would say like professional. They have these camps and they have these instructors and everything's all dialed in and dialed out. And so it's like a high end service. I mean, even for when you look at like when guys put on those things in Namotu and stuff, right? And they get the boats and the jet skis, all the bells and whistles, which is cool. And like, but I think when people would come to our camp, and it was cool, man. Like we were like, you know, slamming into cars, cramming in together, and you know, spending time, you know, at the house so much. And it almost felt like, and people would come up to us and like, man, like, right, it was so authentic and crazy, because you know, it's like they almost felt like one of us, like they were Voyagers, you know, they were part of the community. And it was so, I don't know how to explain it. It was like so,
Camaraderie. It's almost like, you know,
yeah, the
soldiers through war.
camaraderie.
There's like a
Yeah.
trauma bond almost in a way, you know, when you get off that
Yeah.
struggle bus, you know, get
Yeah.
off the struggle bus, you're like, oh, you know, everyone, like you're saying, everyone starts at zero. So there's a huge common bond there as well.
But yeah, like it's, and like I said, it could have been just like the magic of us just figuring it out on the fly and just making this experience the best way possible for these campers. Like I said, it's, when you have a well-oiled professional machine of like these surf trips, you have there's like a client and, um, like customer relationship that maybe, I wouldn't
It's like
say
there's an
it's
arm's
solidified.
length factor to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and it's like, it's not something that we try and do, but it's just, I don't know, it's just the way that us Hawaii people are. We're just so welcoming and going the extra mile and having fun. And, like we're all down to earth that people were like tripping. Wow. Like I've never been treated that way. And to me, like, yeah, like doesn't matter as long as, that, yeah, of course, our objective is to learn, get better, progress, have fun, stay safe. But I think the big thing, like I said, is coming out on the other end and, like now we're friends and brothers connected on this, in this voyaging, like this voyaging atmosphere. And like I said, one of the things that stokes me out is when guys like Gary and your other buddies, they're going on like these reunion, and Matt, they're going on these like Hood River like reunion trips, and it's pretty epic. Um,
That's so good. So Friday, you're going to France. Tell me about this
Going
trip.
to France. Yeah, so I'm going to France. Go to Saint Tropez. It's a great opportunity for me
Big one.
to just like, I love it. I love, like, I went to France, and it's a beautiful country. Spent some time in Curzon, and just go on behalf of being an ambassador of the sport and the brand that of F1 and the Voyager community. And it's fun to just go and downwind in new places and meet new people and just connect with people who are passionate about the same thing. And France has turned into like, bro, I gotta go every year. And so this year we're going to Saint Tropez for a race in the Mediterranean. Really good wind, pretty comparable or even better than Hawaii bumps. It's crazy. Being in Hawaii, we think like everything is bigger, better, faster, and stronger. But you know, there's definitely places around the world where the wind is a little bit more violent than in Hawaii or Oahu or Kauai, right? And so, yeah. And then when I'm there, like afterwards, after the race, I'm gonna link up with a buddy that I made online, and we had a good time last year. We put a camp off. And he's based out of Barcelona, but we run our camp pretty much in between Barcelona and the border of France. It's Costa Brava, and it's 6 zone, beautiful Mediterranean, strong winds, big scenery, good food, good vibes, and it's untapped. It's cool because imagine going to like a world class wave and like seeing nobody out in the line. And that's what it's like when you go and you travel to these places and you're blown away, like,
Like the Mentawise before it blew up.
exactly, exactly. And so, and that's what Brazil was like. I was tripping, like me and Misa were the only ones that were like, and a few others are the only ones that were sucked down with foiling, and everyone's just kiting and windsurfing. And I'm, trying to explain to people, like, hey, bro, watch in like 5, 10 years, this place is gonna blow up, and
Watch
it's
when you put a foil on that thing.
yeah, watch when you put a photo on that thing. But to me, that's the exciting, and that's what voyaging is, right? It's voyaging, getting out of your little pond and going out into the big ocean and realizing, bro, you're gonna come across a Hawaii one day. You're gonna come across Tahiti or New Zealand, and that's what it's about: is voyaging and finding these new zones.
I think what's so addicting and satisfying about a downwind session, downwind run compared to, a prone session, which I can find equal gratification depending on the conditions. But it's that like data compression, pattern recognition aspect to it when you're just reading the ocean, and the fact that it's every run is an adventure. Not every prone sesh is an adventure. But when you downwind, you're going from A to B, and it's a fucking adventure every time. If it's a mile or 20, it's an adventure. You're seeing sea life. There's, am I gonna make it? Am I not? Is it wind gonna die? Bump's gonna you back off? Am I gonna hit a backwash section and struggle through it, or what have you? It's that kind of, there's that touch of the unknown and that adventurous spirit.
And surfers will always say like, like one wave is never the same. And yeah, I mean, like you have places that break, like wave pools, or like breaks that are so consistent and easy. But yeah, waves, you'll never ride the same wave twice or the same. But that's like multiplied by a bajillion times when we're downwind, because every run literally is so different. And every second, every
Every nano
millimeter of
moment.
your ride is different. And that's why I say, like, never bored of it. It's never, you can never turn off the mind, and the mind is always in flow when you're downwinding.
So this trip's
And
just for the
especially
race. You're not
just for the
you're not doing a camp.
no, I'm going for a race in Saint Tropez, which is next week. The holding period is the 7th to the 12th. And then after that, I will be transitioning and moving down the coast towards Costa Brava. And our
Okay.
camp is going to be run from the 15th to the 18th, so just 4 days in Costa Brava.
Are there still spots available?
Yeah, I mean, so we're pretty we're actually pretty filled up as far as like we organize a vacation rental, and so we don't have any space or rooms, but like people are more than welcome to come for like what we call day passes. Just come check us out for the day, like a clinic. Come for the day, come for the clinic, learn some nuggets, and whether it's technique or if you get on foil, and how to ride. I even think, like, I was thinking about this today, or I've been thinking about this recently, where even when you pop up and you can foil, there's still a lot that you can learn. It's not like, okay, the journey's done. There's endless amount of ways to challenge yourself, and whether that's like, okay, am I gonna rip harder? Like, can I put surf wings on and crank turns the whole run and do it smoothly, and I'm not pumping so much? Can I downsize my wing and go for speed and race? Can I like be super smooth and efficient and glide? And like, even if people can downwind, I would encourage them to come check us out, because uh, like
Always,
there's always
some.
something to learn. And yeah, the guys that we have are, as instructors, um, are some of the best in the world, and some of the best in the world in communicating and coaching. And I would encourage this for everybody. I mean, even if you can already downwind foil, bro, go to James Casey and pick his brain and of how to get better. Go to Josh Crew, or any of these guys.
As
It
soon as
does,
you
like,
think you
just
know it
because.
all, that's the moment you stop learning.
Yeah, exactly,
As soon as you
exactly.
got it down,
But
you think you got it
there's
down.
always something to learn from somebody. Um, and yeah, just because you're even, you can be able to make a Hawaii kite run or do something, but you know if I mean, I don't know how to say it. Like, if you could just see one of us guys, like, and foil in a black, like, not to like compare, but like, that's always the goal, is to be downwinding at the highest level. And just because you can pop up or downwind already doesn't mean you're doing it at the highest level. So you should always be pursuing that. And like I said, like, whether that's, if you can already downwind, and you don't think going to a camp is a good idea, like, negative, come check it out, bro. Like, there's something to learn. Go learn from James. Go learn from Albert in Barcelona. Go learn from all these guys.
How can people
Eric.
book with you? Is it through
Um,
Instagram, or do you have a website?
Super easy, yeah. So voyagerfoiler.com, we got our email on there. There's like a link where you could click on the camp itself or reach out to us on DM. We're pretty active. in getting back to messages and replying to messages on DM on Instagram. But yeah, seek us out. We're even if you can't make a camp, and we've had this where people say, "Hey, I can't make your camp, but I'm going to be coming out to Hawaii soon and want to go do some coaching and stuff." And we got, and it's not even a Voyager thing. Like sometimes I'll be like, "Hey, Edo, this guy wants to go. You want to take him out?" Or, "Hey, Jack, and it's cool. We got a great resource." And I wouldn't say we. It's just in general. There's lots of great people to tap into. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Is just if you want to learn and you're hungry and you want to get better, seek out, become a student, and seek out the knowledge and seek
Never
all
stop learning.
it out. Never
Yeah,
stop
never.
learning, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, really enjoyed this conversation, and uh, it's always, I always really enjoy hearing your thoughts, and you're a deep thinker in this sport, doing great stuff with the community building, and just I thank you for what you've done for the sport and continue to do, man. It's inspirational. It gets me stoked and motivated. I've learned a ton just paying attention to you and the crew as well. Um, and yeah, just thanks for your time here, man.
Right on, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, man, you are a legend. And for a lot of us, you were an inspiration to us in the early days and of being the Ripper from Kauai, and yeah, man, it's been a great journey, and stoked to be a part of it, and look forward to the continual offshore investments that we all make. And
We're just getting
thanks
started,
for
baby. Just getting
just getting
started.
started. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, likewise, man. Look forward to catching up soon. Thank you, Sam. Aloha.